Reminds me of this poster board I've been seeing around town. Birds of a feather vote together. Is that what it says, Victor? I don't vote on legislative issues, but yet my picture's on there. I haven't figured that out yet, but I guess maybe you can explain that some other time for me.
Well, as my opponent said, I've gone to the legislature and testified as well, so has he. And I think that does tend to show where your loyalties lie, so to speak, what's important to you, what you're lobbying for, what you're testifying for. I was very involved in the election bills in the last 2 sessions after the recall. It's part of one of my strengths that I bring is being active on one side of the clerk's office as a citizen and trying to affect some change. And now here I am trying to actually get in on the inside of it and have some more change. So I think it's a fair point that lobbying and testifying in legislative sessions does tend to equate with voting of other parties and such.
We're down to our final question. Victor, you handle this one first. As you both have mentioned, the county clerk's office is one that follows a fairly rigid set of state laws and practices. How do you see your party affiliation influencing the way you run the office?
Not at all. It is one of the biggest strengths that I'm bringing to this office. I am a clean slate. I've never held office before. I haven't been brought up through the system. I'm not a career politician. That's the biggest point that I bring here. I'm simply interested in fair elections. I'm not going to put my thumb on the scale. It's precisely why I got involved. That's what I experienced in our county clerk's office. And that's what I'm not going to do.
Bo?
Partisan, we by the state constitution have to run as a Democrat or Republican, so obviously he's a party politician. He went through the General Assembly. He has chosen to be Republican. He is running as a Republican, so he is a partisan politician. It's how you bring it to your job. In elections, just as an example, I hire a Democratic judge as a temporary employee, and I hire a Republican judge as a temporary employee. This ensures bipartisan oversight in my office at all times. I do that not because it's in the law, not because it's the Secretary of State's rule, but because I want that office to run as a bipartisan machine of people, both Democrats and Republicans, working together to ensure our democracy is run correctly. When it comes to recording, I can't imagine what would be partisan about that office. Motor vehicle, I can't imagine what would be partisan about that office. What I do is I run these offices like I've run a business. I've had a business since 1993. We've survived the economic downturn. You know why? Because we know how to tighten our belts, and we know how to serve the public with great customer service. And we have done it over and over again, and that's how we have survived. So business, my business background, I bring it to government, and I run this government office like a business.
I take offense at being called a politician. I much prefer citizen candidate, because that's precisely what I am, a regular citizen that stepped up to the plate to be a candidate. That being said, there's anecdotal stories that I've heard about partisan ploys within my opponent's office, even within the motor vehicles, withholding title transfers because someone doesn't like someone else or someone's running for another office. Hey, it's anecdotal, and if you believe me, fine. If not, doesn't matter. I've experienced it myself. So I too have run a business, and that's precisely how I see this. You guys are not getting the customer service you deserve for the amount of money we bring in and for the staff that we have. We're essentially the fattest county, as they call it, on the top 10 in the 10-county budget. And that's what I aim to do. My product is customer service, and that's what I'm going to bring to you.
Well, I wish you luck, Mr. Head, if you do win this office, because I think you just insulted everybody in my office. My people come in, and my coworkers come into work with a job to do. They don't know what affiliation you are. How could they know? You are bringing in a card title. They don't have access to the voter registration system. From the last time I heard, you don't have to wear an R or a D on your sleeve to come into those offices. So, anecdotal information, I would call that an outright lie by whoever told you that. To their face, my employees work every day. They work for low wages compared to any other county on the 10-county scale that he keeps talking about. They haven't had a raise for a very long time, and they deserve, because in our Pueblo County, I think they are the hardest working employees in Pueblo County.
It's absolutely not a dig at the staff. It's one of our biggest assets. Our biggest asset is the fact that we have such a great staff there, and we have so many people that are specialized in their areas. The problem is the leadership of that staff. That is where we need some expertise to come in. We need to streamline that process. Has anyone seen when you go to get a title or something, and all of a sudden the guy you're working with has to walk all the way around to a printer somewhere else? That's the type of simple stuff that we need to streamline. I'm going to get you a printer. That's what we need. We're in the new age here. We need streamlined processes. We need to provide the tools for those employees. We need to give them some structure to do the best they can, because it's one of our biggest assets, is how many employees we have and how good they are at it.
When that person walks around, she brings or he brings the title to somebody who checks the title, checks their work. The Department of Revenue send us our stats. They send every county their stats. Pueblo County is in the 98th percentile. That's why they walk over there. They're checking that title. They're making sure that the customer doesn't have a problem with that title and ends up with their license plates not being valid. All that information is sent to the Department of Revenue. They go through that information, check it, and if it's invalid, they send it back to us, and we have to inform the customer, I'm sorry, we made a mistake on your title. I don't want you to have to come back into my office. I want you to be able to be sure that when you came in my office, that paperwork was done correctly, and you don't have to worry about those license plates until you renew them. And so we go the extra step. We have one more check than other counties, and that's why that person's walking around.
Do I get one more?
We have time for one more rebuttal from each of you.
One other point I forgot to touch on there was that the employees haven't had a raise, and that's something that would change with the Q-flow system. In the budget hearing last month, Mr. Ortiz asked for $14,000 in raises for certain employees, and that was it, only if you've been there long enough or whatever parameters. With the Q-flow system, you can get your own raises if you improve your process times, your error rates, tardiness, days off, those sort of things. You get bonuses, and then those bonuses every quarter are added to your base salary, and there's no cap. That's how El Paso runs. You can set your own destiny, essentially. If you want to work really, really hard and keep adding to your base salary, you don't have to go to the clerk and ask for a raise, and he doesn't have to go to the commissioners and beg for a raise. You get to set it yourself, and that's something I would bring.
Bo, last rebuttal. Do you have anything else to say?
Just remind everybody the Q-flow system costs $70,000. That's basically 2 employees' yearly wages. Asking $70,000 for the commissioners in a very strapped budget where security and a new judicial building and sheriffs are more important than a matrix so that we can know more about, the matrix I use is I go and I walk through that line and I talk to the people that are in line, and I'm the greeter when you come into motor vehicle department. I make sure that you're in the right line. That's the matrix I use. I don't need a computer or a number system to do that.
I have to correct one real quick because I've run the numbers on this. I wouldn't come up here and pitch this to you if I didn't know. It does not cost $70,000. Earlier you said $7,000, and I thought that was weird. From El Paso for a 7-station, and this includes cables, monitors, everything all in, it's $25,000 to $30,000, just to get that out there.
We have 22 stations.
Okay. Okay?
Sorry.
That concludes the question and answer portion of the program. And we'll now have closing remarks. A reminder that, as we said earlier, Victor did win the toss and elected to conclude the event tonight, so we'll have closing remarks first from Bo Ortiz. Bo?
Oh, closing remarks. I'm not ready. I think you've seen a clear difference between the two candidates up here. Mr. has spent a lot of time talking about how well he did last year. And I congratulate him for that. He did an incredible job. And he was very cordial to work with. I think we got along great. I think me and his brother had a scrape up, but me and him worked very well together. I think he's a little disingenuous when he talks about transparency because we gave him access to everything that he asked for. There were certain things that we couldn't give him access to immediately because there was secure and verifiable there was information on those records that were not open to the public. But what I think that it's important to talk about here is the clear difference and my clear vision for the county clerk's office for the next 4 years. I have a continued pursuit of preservation of county records, backed all the way to 1864. Continued use of technology, advances in collaboration with Colorado Drives to enhance office efficiencies and motor vehicle. Working in a nonpartisan manner to implement the voter modernization bill and collaborate with the Secretary of State's office to create and enhance election rules that ensure the continued integrity of our elections in Pueblo County. I say continued integrity because while he says that we're counting votes in a smoke-filled room downstairs, the Republicans have the opportunity to challenge any of that in the canvass board. Although in the canvass board, they have voted to certify every election that I've run, 21 elections, they have certified unanimously. The Republicans have voted to certify, the Democrats, and even the American Constitution Party. But enough of that. I need to thank a few people. I need to thank my beautiful wife, Stephanie, for living this crazy life with me. My kids, Tori and Evan. My parents, who have to drive them around and drive me around and go hang signs and make me dinner and sometimes do my laundry. And I like to thank everybody who came out to support me. I am really working hard to be the best county clerk, and I humbly ask for your vote.
And we'll now have closing remarks from Victor Head.
Well, I thank everyone for coming out tonight. Thank you, Gilbert, for allowing this discussion of ideas. It's been fun. I did start off talking about the recall, how I got involved. I want you to know why I'm standing here today, where I'm coming from. But I want you to leave with something that stuck with me from that recall. This was a tweet and a